Hello, everybody. So today's case is about Rhys Pocan. I'm sorry if I pronounced her last name wrong, but I believe that is correct. This is probably going to be a much shorter video, probably similar to the last video posted. For one, there's not a whole lot of information on the case itself, but we really don't know anything about Rhys either. We have some quotes from her children about, the day she went missing, but we really don't know about her. I wasn't able to find anything actually about her, which was really weird, but we just don't have a whole lot of information. I also only found, 2-3 different photos of her, and they're not the best quality, so I apologize for that as well. But like I said, today's case is about Rhys Pocan. And let's go ahead and get into this. So all the links I used for research will be down below like always. And yeah. So Rhys was a 35-year-old Native American woman and she had 4 daughters. She was last seen walking along National Avenue on August 10th, 1989, around midnight in Milwaukee. Rhys's daughter, Charlie, was 8 when she saw her mom for the last time. And this is a quote from Charlie. She says, "I remember her getting on her bike and I said, I want to go with her. Why can't I go with you?" And she said, "No, you can't come with me this time." And I watched her ride away on her bike, and that memory will always be ingrained in my head. End quote. The next part is gruesome, because unfortunately Rhys would be abducted and murdered, and her body was dismembered. Her head and hands were discarded in Vernon Marsh in Waukesha County, and her torso was dumped in Nichols Creek in Sheboygan County. And Charlie says, "It was so violent and horrific. Who could do something like this?" And that is a really good question. To not only abduct and kill someone, but to just dismember their body and just throw them away like they're trash. I that takes another level of evil. So there's an archived tape that shows the scene in Sheboygan County that revealed the disturbing reality of what happened to Rhys. So the whole search and finding her body is an archive tape. And I actually have the link below, not to the tape, but to the article of the news station that has the tape, if that makes sense. Because that's where I got a lot of my information from, was this one station. I can't remember the name of it now, but they are linked down below, and they talk more about it. But it basically shows what happened to her. And anonymous man called 911 after he found her torso in Nichols Creek. And this is a quote from the reporter on the news story. I did not get a name, so I apologize, but they say, "Investigators were hoping dogs might track down the body's head and hands, which were missing when the remains were found." So they were just all over the place, and unfortunately, a man was the one that stumbled upon her remains. And the parts that the remains that they were hoping dogs would find, like I said earlier, they would eventually be discovered by hunters in Vernon Marsh. And I just want to say, I cannot imagine how traumatizing that would have to be the people that found these body parts, and knowing that you found human remains. That has to be another level of trauma, of just being disturbed. I could not imagine what that would be like. So, another quote from Charlie, and she says, "It was really hard for my family. So many questions. What did she do to deserve this?" And those questions remained unsolved as time would go on, and the case eventually went cold. Sheboygan County Sheriff's Detective Nathan Hatch was assigned the case in 2017, and he says that they believed that Rhys knew her killer, but the motive is still unknown to this day. Nathan also says that the case started to heat up again, and evidence was sent to a lab, and even more is on the way there. He wasn't able to really share like what the evidence was, and that is because they wanted to preserve the investigation. But he goes on to say, this year alone, we've had 35 interviews, which have taken us to Gray's Mills, Black River Falls, Kohler, Green Bay, Fond du Lac, East Troy, Milwaukee, Plymouth, etc. So they have gotten a lot of information that have taken them everywhere, and I presume has opened or given them a lot of leads. And he was asked if he believes the person who did this to be alive. He says yes, that of all the suspects that are currently developed, all of them are still alive, and he also believes someone that they've interviewed is responsible. So Charlie has this information that they believe that the person who did this is still alive and was already interviewed, and she says that because of this, she's more hopeful than ever that she and her family will finally get answers and justice for Rhys, which is certainly overdue. And I'm sorry to say that this is where I run out of information for you. The news article that I told you about that has the archived tape and everything, which is where I got most of the information, that is where I got even most of this interview with Charlie and Nathan Hatch and all that. So there's not really even many news articles out there that even talks about Rhys. But hopefully, eventually, the Sheboygan County Sheriff's Office can actually, come out and say, like, we have a suspect, or we know who did this, we're pressing charges, and we'll know the evidence and all of that, and Rhys's family can finally get the closure they need, and Rhys can also finally have justice. So that is the hope that will eventually happen soon. But unfortunately, that, like I said, that is all I have for you guys. But the words from Nathan Hatch also gives me hope that this will be solved eventually. Um, his words make it sound like they have all this evidence, and hopefully there is something there that will just crack it open. So that is the hope. I will keep an eye on this case, and if there's any updates, of course, I will let you guys know. So this is what I'm going to stay up to date with. Thank you so much for listening to Rhys's story. And if Charlie or any of her other daughters or any of her other family comes across this video, I just want to say that I am so sorry about what happened to your mother. She looked like, and from what I was able to find about her, which I know wasn't much, she seemed like a lovely person. You obviously cared and loved her very much for her. And I just hope that you guys get the answers that you deserve. But thank you so much for listening to Rhys's story, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.